Outrage in India over Norway kids' custody row. Opposition has asked the government to take up the issue with the Norwegian government to intervene on a more serious footing. Remember, this is not the first time that something like this has happened, and this is the second case in recent times where parents have in fact been separated from their children. On this occasion, the parents have been arrested, taken into police custody. The case will come up for hearing today as well, but a final decision will be taken on the 3rd of December.
देखिए, विदेशों में कई जगहों पर भारतीय मूल के लोगों के साथ, भारतीयों के साथ जानबूझ करके न्याय के नाम पर अन्याय किया जा रहा है। कहीं कहीं पर जो है वो कुछ प्रेजुडिस माइंडसेट से भी ये काम हो रहे हैं। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि केंद्र सरकार को, विदेश मंत्रालय को ऐसी घटनाओं की, और खास तौर से जिन देशों में इस तरह की घटनाओं की बार बार पुनरावृत्ति हो रही है, उसके बारे में एक बार ध्यान देना चाहिए और उस बारे में कड़े से कड़े कदम उठाने चाहिए।
सर, किसी भी मुल्क के अंदरूनी कानून में हिंदुस्तान कभी मदाखलत नहीं करता है। जो कुछ नॉर्वे के अंदर हुआ है उसकी तफसीलात मुझे मालूम नहीं है। अगर कोई बात ऐसी हुई होगी जो ज्यादती की है तो यकीनन हमारी सरकार नॉर्वे से बातचीत करेगी, लेकिन हर मुल्क का अपना कानून है और उस कानून की इज्जत वहां के रहने वालों को करनी ही चाहिए।
The opposition there demanding stronger intervention from the government. The Congress meanwhile also coming out and reacting. We know that India has offered consular help also to the Indian couple that this is Chandrasekhar Vallabhaneni and also Anupama, his wife that we're talking about, who have been sent into police remand following a complaint on their child and the way that they were treating him. Serious charges leveled against him. Associate Director Rukmini Vishwanath has been tracking developments. She now joins us. Rukmini, first up, break down the situation for us. This is, it comes down to, once again, if you take into account the reactions coming across from the family of Chandrasekhar as well, saying that there is a divide. There's always been a cultural divide between India, the way that parenting is done here in this country, and across with child rights in Norway. Not the first case either.
That's right, Aditya, like you rightly said, there is the issue of the cultural divide, but the Indian government this time around is proceeding cautiously. They are offering consular assistance and advice to the couple, but they're also seeking details. Remember, this is a little different from the previous case that we saw of Anurup and Sagarika Bhattacharya last year, where the couple was charged with inability to take care of the children. One of their children was autistic, and they felt that the parents were not providing adequate care to the kind of special needs that the children had. In this case, the parents have been arrested for maltreatment and possible violence. Those are the charges that the parents have been arrested under. So it really remains to be seen what evidence is provided to the Indian government. The Indian government is watching it very closely. In the previous case of Anurup and Sagarika, it was a diplomatic first of sorts where the Indian government really reached out across the borders to help Indian citizens. A people-to-people oriented diplomacy. We've never seen a case like that as far as India is concerned. It remains to be seen whether the Indian government will help to that extent this time around, based on what the facts of the case are. Aditya, there is a bit of cultural divide, like you rightly said. Parents have been accused of intimidating and threatening a child. There are also reports that this child too had behavioral problems, and perhaps intimidation and threats was not the best way to deal with it. But whether the Norwegian authorities once again overreached in arresting the parents, and whether counseling perhaps would have helped in terms of how to take care of the child, all these are questions that will be answered once the facts become more clear as the days go along.
Rukmini, just stay on with us. Let's also get some more details in from Maha Siddiqui. Maha, just bring us up to speed with, the charges which have been leveled against the parents here. We understand the mother faces a year and 3 months. The father faces a little more than that as well in jail as far as the prison terms go. Serious charges being leveled against them.
Yes, absolutely, Aditya. Quite serious charges. The charges are that there was maltreatment of the child, repeated maltreatment of the child in this case, and fear that violence could have been used against the child. Now, those are the charges leveled against the parents under Section 219 of the Norway Penal Code. However, what we understand from what the parents' side of the story is, that this was a one-off case where the child had wet his pants at school and was scared of going back home because he felt that he would be reprimanded, and perhaps his parents, to scare him at some point, must have told him that they'd send him back to India, and that's what he narrated to his teacher, to which the teacher took the step of informing the authorities. But we have to actually now, as details are coming out, we'll have to wait and see whether there was any other case as well in the past where the parents had perhaps scared the child to discipline him, and whether the case is based on all those incidents. Because what we understand from the statement of the Norway embassy is that there was a repeated behavior like this from parents, and that is why they have taken up this case, and the prosecution has recommended the penalty that you just pointed out over there of 1 year, 3 months for the mother and 1 year, 6 months for the father.
All right, Maha, they're making an important point that perhaps, this might have been a case of repeated offense as far as the parents are concerned, but based on the evidence that has been coming across and being put forth by the relatives also, it says that the local child services unit had given them a clean sheet. Mridula also joining us. Mridula, isn't that a fact that the family has been pointing at as well? Certainly at this stage, they're pleading, cultural differences as the main issue here.
Absolutely. In fact, that is what is perplexing the family back home in India, because these two had actually come back to India almost in July after having been cleared by the child services there to take care of their children, that they were eligible to take care of both their children. And they were actually cleared, and they had been brought back. They came back to India and were, in fact, settled down. They began to settle down here. It was only later that this police case has been filed, and they have been called to court as part of the hearing of this police case, and now they have been remanded. The family here is absolutely shocked at hearing that the kind of penalties that they are likely to face if the judgment comes, when the judgment comes out on Monday. And in fact, they are trying to expedite the matter with the MEA, the external affairs, put some pressure to and ensure that the hearing at least is more, whatever hearing is happening, the lawyers there are presenting the picture. As far as the family is concerned, they tell me that there was no repeated offense. This was a one-off incident that led to this particular the case being registered here.
Well, so they're also seeking, further and more urgent help from the government as well. Let's just see how this case progresses forward. For the moment, Mridula, Maha, also Rukmani, thanks very much for joining us with your inputs on the story.